3, 2, 1. Yes, sir.
Woo!
Where's the shirt? After you. Finally, Florida State ends the streak. 31-28 in a game that, frankly, they look like they're trying to give away. Welcome to the post-game chop-up with Nate and Steve, hosted by the Voice of College Football. Make sure that you listen every day or every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for the live call-in show. Steve, the streak is over.
It's over, baby.
It's over. It's over. It's over. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Where are my Canes at from last week? Where the Canes at?
Where them clowns at? Where they at?
Yeah,
where they at? Yeah.
Where they at?
I got to talk trash this week.
Wow. So that was a mixed emotions in that game, Steve. You know, really shouldn't have not been that. You want to pull up the stats so we can look at them?
Yeah, I'll pull them up. Man, it
should have not been that close.
Nate. Nope. It all started with that fumble. Miami is a team that feeds off of momentum and energy, and we gave them a little bit of a sliver, and they did it. They came back, and they fed off of that. So, yeah, I mean, Van Dyke went on a streak there about 3 or 4 drives in a row where he just wasn't missing. But then as soon as we started putting that pressure back on, and we scored that touchdown, we got that field goal, and we put that pressure back on, it's like, okay, you got to perform now. He faltered. You know, he looked like a young quarterback. But, man, that felt good, Nate.
Yeah, it was needed. You know, so let me know when you get the stats up.
I got them up.
So one thing I talked about, you know, this week was that, you know, 7 out of the last 10, the team that runs for the most wins this game. And that was true today, correct?
Yep. 150 for Florida State, 42 for Miami. 42. Under 2 yards per carry.
Correct. And you know, what we also talked about too briefly was we felt that, you know, Van Dyke was going to be able to bust some stuff open in the passing game, which they did. It kind of went like we thought. If Florida State would be able to run the ball well, prevent self-inflicted wounds, that they would pull this game out. You know, which you know, I think most of us thought it was over when Miami went up 28-20.
Yep.
But got to give Florida State props for sticking to it. Jermaine Johnson played a hell of a game. Those last 2 drives were dominant.
Yep.
Dominant. Great play calling, great execution. So let's start it off. Your initial thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we both talked about it before the game. The keys, you know, we had to run the ball. You know, Jordan Travis had to have a good game. He had an efficient game throwing the ball. It could have been more efficient.
You like my couture shirt real quick, though? It's pretty nice, isn't it? I made that.
You made that?
Yep. I made that.
Yeah, you know, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about, it's terrible coaching on offense and stuff like that. If Jordan Young makes that catch, which he should make, if Parchment doesn't stop running,
if they don't fumble the ball,
if we don't fumble the ball with no contact, which is just a handoff, you know, like those things made a huge difference. It wasn't the play calling. We just had a few boneheaded plays and mental lapses where we didn't do what we should have. If we make those plays, which our offense is predicated on those big plays. If we make those big plays, particularly in the passing game, it opens everything up. We're just not good enough with our personnel yet to just be able to run the ball down somebody's throat, you know. And so some people are, well, we're getting conservative. I don't think we're getting. That's what we are with Travis as a back. We're a running team. We run the ball. People have been complaining all year when we don't run the ball, and now we run the ball, and people are, it's terrible coaching. You know, we're getting too conservative. That's our identity. What do you want?
I felt that Florida State had a marked advantage running outside. I felt that their linebackers were a very big mismatch for both the RPO game and you know, the run outside the tackles. And you know, I still think despite the struggles that FSU saw, you know, in the third quarter and the early part of the fourth, that stayed true throughout the whole throughout the whole game.
And that's why we kept doing the motion with Douglas to try to
Mhm.
keep pulling those guys outside, and we kept doing the little option RPO option play, where uh, Travis had the option to either pitch it outside or run up the middle. Basically he's reading those linebackers. Those linebackers fly outside, he keeps it. If those linebackers stay inside, he pitches it, and we
Mhm.
have that option. And it worked great sometimes, but as any option, like sometimes it's just not gonna work.
Mhm.
If we hit those plays, those big play opportunities, it's a completely different ball game. But we didn't, and all of a sudden our offense went very stagnant. But then as soon as we made some more plays, guess what happens? Stuff starts
Open
to
back
open
up.
up, and we are able to move the ball. So you'll see that next week against BC. You'll see that against
Mhm.
Florida as well. When we are hitting those plays, our offense will move. When we are missing those plays and they're open, it's not even like we're calling them and it's just missing because their defense is playing well. We're
Mhm.
just not playing well and executing to get those plays. Like defense had nothing to do with Parchment. I'm going to stop and celebrate because I made a good move off the line. And
Mhm.
he's throwing me the ball. Let me try to run. That's a freaking touchdown. You know,
Right.
so, that's the thing there. And like on defense, we said like it's going to be about our defensive line. If we are
Yeah.
dominant on the defensive front and we put pressure on Van Dyke, then, we can force him into some mistakes. We did. As
Mhm.
soon as they started getting a little bit of momentum and our defensive line wasn't quite as dominant and getting quite as much pressure, they started getting some stuff. But as soon as we
Mhm.
started getting more pressure on them, boom, all that went
Let's
away.
talk about that play by Parchment. So that knucklehead play where he stopped running. He made up for it on that fourth down. He went up, got the ball. Players make plays, and what a huge play, unexpected on my end.
Unexpected. Yep. Yeah. That 4th and 15, I tweeted out from the Unconquered. Sorry, my emotions are going crazy.
Yeah.
I tweeted out from the Unconquered, because I had said, hey, 7 can go back to Kansas, after
Mm-hmm.
he stopped running, and then he makes that play and delete.
Yeah.
It's huge, and stuff like that, like, can make a lot of bad mistakes that you've made in the past, can make fans forget about it. Big plays like that. He made a big play, he got open, made a big play, and got us right down to the goal line and set up the game-winning touchdown. And it was beautiful to see. We haven't always made those kind of plays here lately. And, big-time players make big-time plays
Mm-hmm.
in big-time games. I don't know if I'd call him a big-time player, but he made a big-time play in a
He was
big-time game.
today.
He was today.
In that moment.
On that one play, in that moment.
Yeah.
So.
Let's talk about this. I thought Florida State had to win this game with all the recruits that were in until this weekend. There's a lot of top flight kids there.
Yep.
Yeah, they needed a good showing, but they needed to get a W. And,
Yep.
and we'll talk about this in a minute, but they got that W with a ton of recruits that were in action and a great atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And a great rivalry game. So looking at Travis, what were his stats? I know, second half he was not as efficient in the first, but what did he finish?
He was 19 of 27 for 284 yards with no touchdowns, no interceptions, 3 sacks, and then 62 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns.
That's double the average that they've been letting him throw.
Yeah.
So they definitely opened up the offense with him today.
Yeah.
I did like the motion, getting outside the pocket and coming back to the guys that were finding a spot in the middle. They find a lot of success with that.
Mm-hmm.
That play with Ja'Kai Douglas, love it. Right down the sideline. He had his man beat by 3 yards.
Yep.
I'm someone that gives Travis a lot of crap about his, inconsistency as a passer. He made good throws today. And he made throws that had to happen when they had to have it. That throw to Parchment and that throw to Douglas stand out. Corbin, he he was on pace for well over 100 in the first half, and they kind of went away from it.
Yeah, he had 67. Like you said, most of that in the first half. Yeah, I mean, they went away from him a little bit. They gave Ward a lot more too. Ward
What up,
had
Ebo? Let's go.
78
go.
yards total. Yep.
Sorry.
Ward had like 7. That's all right. Ward had 78 yards total. So, Corbin total had 82. So, it's good days. Not great days, but it's good days. Miami really focused on stopping that run. So, once they did that and they started getting a lot more pressure, we had to throw it a little bit more, even though I don't think we wanted to per se, but we didn't have much of a choice, and there's some penalties and stuff like that on some of those drives that hurt us, put us into third and long, second and long type situations to where, we've talked about it before on the podcast. Our offense and our offensive line is not good enough to where when we are in those kind of situations to where we can be successful. We have to be in neutral situations to where defenses can't expect a pass or a run. If they're expecting a run, we're not good enough to be able to consistently get that. If they're expecting a pass, we're not good enough to be consistently get that. We need those situations to where, it's 2nd and 6 or 7, 3rd and 3 or 4, we get in those kind of situations, we're more successful because now the defense doesn't know what to expect and we can run or pass, and that's when we're able to be. But if we're in 3rd and long, it's not good for us. Even 3rd and short, 3rd and 1 is not as good for us either. We just don't have the ability up front to be able to block 3rd and 1 successfully, consistently. And so, obviously we just don't have the receivers and quarterback to convert 3rd and long consistently.
Definitely disappointed in the interior of the offensive line today. I didn't think that, other than Nessa Savara, that Miami would be able to generate and get the pressure, one up the middle, and two, stop the run game. They did a really good job. I'll tip my cap to them. But, Florida State, when they went outside, it was 5, 6, 8, 9 yards a chunk. So, I want to mention this comment. Great game. Defense played good. Offense started off hot and finished strong when we needed. Travis made great throws. Wide receiver talent is needed. Yep. You have to tip your cap to that defensive side of the ball. We all get Fuller a lot of crap, but that defense has played pretty well over the last few, 3 or 4 games, and enough to get the W.
They've gotten a lot better, and it's some of it's starting to find personnel. Cooper, remember 2014, and we needed some big plays on offense. Who was it that stepped up?
Say it again.
In 2014, when we needed some big plays on offense, who was it that stepped up and really made a name for themselves?
Dalvin
Cook, right? That was his boom. That was his coming out moment,
Yeah.
And he
Rashad, but Dalvin was like the guy,
right? But that was true freshman comes into that game. It's like boom, and we knew we had something special with Dalvin Cook. I don't want to go quite that far with Cooper, but how he played tonight, we have something there. A cornerback that we can trust there. First start at home against Miami, against a passing attack that's been just killing people, and he came to play and he played very well tonight. Very well tonight. So I'm like,
he could have had that interception in the game, but
almost, but it's that's the kind of stuff I've been wanting to see the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, let's see somebody that's going to really step up and make a name for themselves. Dalvin Cook was able to do it. Jalen Ramsey did it whenever he was a freshman against Miami and his sophomore year as well. We haven't really been seeing that too much. We saw that with Cooper tonight. Obviously Jermaine Johnson did, but he's a senior. People know Cooper came in and, man, he balled out and played a fantastic game.
Yeah.
So I think we got a corner there.
They take him out on goal to go, and they went right at Jerry and Jones, right at him. Right
Yep.
on.
And Jones didn't come back in until Brownlee went out for a series and was hurt. That's the only time Jones played the rest of the game
Yeah.
that I can remember. So they're starting to shorten the rotations up. We've got our personnel and we're running with them, and especially in the secondary.
Still has some miscommunication though.
Still
Especially with
learning.
the wheel
Yep.
stuff, and they were killing FSU with the backs out of the backfield.
Yeah, and some of that's just our linebackers just aren't built for that. Like they're just not good enough. Like teams are going to kill us on that until we can get some better linebacker help, in here. And they're just Lundy's between those tackles. Man, he's terrific. You get outside those tackles. Whoa, we got problems. Gaynor just doesn't have to me, he just doesn't have the instincts. Deloach is playing great personally. I got no issues with Deloach. But yeah, it's that's gonna be an issue. Hopefully Marv can get
there are some people that questioned Norvell going for 3 to make it 28-23. I agree with that call because I think it's easier just to take the 3 than trying to go for a 2-point conversion. Norvell said in the presser, I knew we were going to get a stop, and that's when he was asked about making the decision to go for the field goal and cut it to 5. I think that was the right call.
Yeah, I agree. My brother was down here, and he's he's a high school football coach, offensive coordinator, been coaching for 2 decades. He's like he agreed. He's like you definitely take those points right there. You're gonna need to get a touchdown anyways. So you take the points, get a stop, come down and get a touchdown, and you're gonna have to go for the 2 still because it's to be a 3-point to make it a 3-point game. But yeah, it's definitely the right call. I think the call at the end of the second half, I think it was the right call too.
Yeah, you got to put the points
absolutely
up.
Get the points. So the long field goal that we attempted, I'm 50-50 on it. I'm fine trying to go for that. But if he had punted, I'd be fine too. Like I don't think that's a big, huge issue either way. So I'm fine with that either way. But I mean, if it came down to it, I probably would have punted just because I don't trust Fitzgerald much, but I'm fine with that call either way.
A lot of big plays in this game, man. You look at, I took a lot of notes in this game.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up real quick. You look at the Cooper interception. You look at Miami on 4th and short, they go for it. Next play, Jamie Robinson gets a pick on a great break on the ball.
Yep.
You look at Johnson with the forced fumble, FSU recovers, puts them in a short field situation. Miami was just killing themselves in the first half with all the penalties. Wilson gets free on a go route, gets first and goal, but FSU can only convert that to a field goal. And then you look at that second half. That's when things really started to turn. Fitzgerald misses the field goal. I would rather them see him go for it on 4th and 7, other than kick a 52-yard field goal. And then Miami responds right back with a quick score, and they're in business. And then next play, again, Miami with personal foul extends the drive for FSU. But it's when that fumble turned, man, that fumble coming out the half, you really see, Miami get that momentum. But we've talked about FSU not being able to push through adversity, and this is the first time that we've seen it, especially in a rivalry game. I was thinking this was 2018 all over again, whatever, when they were up 27-7. I'm like, oh, here we go. I agree, Rob. This shirt is a one only couture. I'm starting the wagering at $2,000.
How about the first person that sends us some money gets it?
Yeah. So, but that this team is not great, and we're not going to say they're great, but they're I think they're now firmly. They have a really good chance of making a bowl game now, with
Yeah.
with what you see what's left on the schedule.
I mean, did Florida just give up 52 points to Samford? Samford.
42 in the first half. 42 in the first half, man.
That wow. Can we somehow get Mullen and Diaz to both stay next year? Can that happen? Can that happen? Yeah, those big plays, Nate. That's really this rivalry. What it's always been about is those big plays, and those huge momentum shifts. And I said it the entire game. I'm like, especially once ever, even before Miami got that momentum, I'm like, we need to close this out. We need another score. Because if Miami's eventually going to make a play, and once they make a play, they're going to get that momentum. We have to find a way to put our foot on their necks and end it. We didn't do it. They made that play, and they got the momentum, and all of a sudden it was all Miami. And really that fumble was the pivot. We fumbled, and then they got the lucky
that Karam
touchdown. Come on, man! Seriously, come on. Because we had them stopped, and then that, and it's just those momentum swings are tough. And like Miami, they even from the 80s, Miami's always thrived on that energy, that swagger. That's what Miami is. So it's like you have to do something to take that away. And we finally eventually took it away, and not by even just like a big huge play. I mean, I guess the Douglas play was the big one, but we got that Douglas play, and then we were able to get the field goal, and then it's just once we were able to flip that, then it was all Florida State from there, and Miami had no answer. And that's how this thing has always been. It's always been huge swings in this
Mullen
series.
got an extension before or in the summer. But,
yeah.
That is heading in the wrong direction very quickly.
Yeah. Florida doesn't care about that extension. Miami, it might make a difference because
they don't have the money.
Broke. They don't have the money, but Florida does not care about that extension. They will fire Norvell and pay whatever.
Man. What up, varsity?
Look at varsity.
Look at varsity up in here. Yeah, that fumble and then that Karam on that lucky play. Those are backbreakers. When typically this is a team that you see FSU would pack it in, and I thought it was happening.
Yeah, we did. We said. I think I even said it to varsity via Facebook Messenger. I was like, "Yeah, we're done." And it's something we've seen from 17, 18, 19, last year, 2020, that would always be the case. We have seen it start to shift this year. We saw when UNC started to make a little bit of a run. Okay, we're going to pack it in. Nope, boom. We closed that off real quick. I wish we had done it a little bit quicker in this game, but, Notre Dame, we thought they were about to start taking it away. And boom, Milton came in, a little bit of magic, and we end up losing overtime. So we've seen a little bit more fight in this team. This team does not quit. It doesn't quit like in years past to where, it's just something happens and like, oh, well, okay, they're going for it. They got it. And they just quit, and this team doesn't do that. And I think a lot of that has to do with not just Norvell, but some of the people he's brought in, the Johnson and the Robinson and the Keir Thomas and the Milton. Those guys have flipped the culture and the mindset of this team, and it is a different team. Now let
me ask you this, Steve. Is it crazy to say that this game, locked in Johnson as an All-American?
I don't see why not. I mean,
I definitely think he's the ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
He's going to be. I'd have to look to see what other people did, but he'll definitely be in the running. Definitely be All ACC. Definitely be in the running for ACC Player of the Year. Definitely be in the running to be an All American. He was dominant.
He's made some money, man.
Man, he did. He did. That's a big time game. He did that. So it'll be. I like to see before I really fully say that. I like to see how he finishes up against BC and Florida. But if he's played like he has all year in those 2 games, I don't see. I think he'll at least make some All-American teams. I don't know if he'll be consensus All-American, but he'll make some All-American teams.
I don't know, man. Especially with the way that he's made a ton of impact.
Yeah.
Throughout the season. It's not just the sacks. It's 11 tackles in one game. It's the forced fumble, returning it for a touchdown. He's making plays every game. So, I think he's probably locked himself in for, maybe not unanimous All-American, but he's locked himself in for, 1 or 2 teams. And that's going to bode well for FSU in this portal as we, head into the offseason. As it's proof of concept that you can come in and elevate your draft stock and play on a big stage and be able to develop in a short amount of time.
Okay. Since you brought that up, let's get to the recruiting and stuff like that. Cause it was a huge recruiting weekend, buku 5 stars, transfers, 4 stars from 2022, 23, 24. And, I think we both agreed that like a win was like the most, like not the most important thing, but an important thing. Like it would go a long way. Personally, I thought like if we had a good game and maybe we still lost, we lost because we just didn't have the talent. And that was obvious, that there's just a talent disadvantage, but we fought and they kept it close and we had a chance, but we just didn't have the playmakers. I thought that would go a long way as well. I think we almost had the best of both worlds because we fought hard enough to where even despite the talent disadvantages, we were still able to win. And, if I'm Hunter and McCall and, if Coleman saw it on TV, I know he's at Oregon this weekend, and some of these other receivers and, Barnes was there and stuff like that. And, some of these other guys, and some of like the tackles that were there and stuff like that. If I'm them and I see this and I'm like, man, if Florida State had a little bit more talent, they blow Miami out tonight.
Really big time. We're talking big like time. 42-14.
And so if I'm a recruit and I'm seeing that and I'm like, man, this is what they got going on, and they're lacking talent and playmakers specifically.
What up, bro?
That could be, I think it might be a very, very good weekend. I think we might see a lot of progress out of that, and like on the defensive side of things, like like Marvin Jones Jr., and he sees what Johnson is doing, like I can come in and do that in this defense. Sign me up.
Yeah, I think that, we're not going to, jump to conclusions and say things that yet, but the staff, let's kill the notion first that the staff can't recruit because they can, especially when they get these kids on campus. The way that they present and the way that they are on campus is, there's only a handful of programs that are better than them on campus right now. And I would put, it's a Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. I wouldn't put a ton of teams ahead of them in terms of what FSU can do when they get these kids on campus. But, I think that there are some surprise visitors that they had this week, which tells you that, again, they're recruiting their tails off from behind the scene. They're getting these kids in last game of the year. It could have been the same effect if they would have beaten Notre Dame, which was a huge weekend. So I think that it shows that, again, that FSU is on the right track. That, Miami was starting to get a lot of hype about how they were on offense and turning the corner. And as you said, Miami had 13 penalties, had 3 turnovers. If FSU doesn't turn the ball over on that fumble, if they convert and execute a little bit better on just a handful of plays, this is a blowout.
Absolutely.
Like this is a game that FSU dominates. And I feel really comfortable saying that this game was not far. Yeah, give Miami props. They fought back. Van Dyke he's going to be a good quarterback. But he's going to have to figure it out too. He likes that deep shot, and he's not really good or consistent in the other stuff, but his deep ball's really nice. So, but that's the only thing I'm going to say positive about Miami because it's always F to you. You know, again, this is the post game chop up with Nate and Steve, hosted by the Voice of College Football. Make sure that you listen every Wednesday to the live call-in show at 8:00. I might have to call in and talk some smack with all. I'm still looking for all these Miami fans that were,
what happened to
running their mouth last week, and what happened?
Disappeared. Ghost.
So, Travis Hunter on campus this weekend. Recruiting his tail off. Duffy's there. Marvin Jones Jr. again. Who I feel is the most important recruit left on the board. A lot of guys that were they're going to be impressed, man. And then Tallahassee's going to be live tonight. We know how that's going to be. It's going to be a great post-game atmosphere. Going to be a great college experience for a lot of these kids. So, got to like how you feel, coming off this game, and then you head into next week. You still got to get to a bowl, and that's what it comes down to for me.
Yep. Got to find a way, and this goes a long ways towards that, because BC and UF right now are definitely beatable, but they are away games, and
it's going up for auction. It's going up for auction.
So, I mean, a bowl is definitely attainable at this point. There's no doubt. BC is a winnable game, even at BC. I don't like. And I never have. As soon as the schedule came out, I said that's a terrible place to go to BC between Miami and Florida. But it's a winnable game. And Florida at this point is obviously, even at Florida, is a winnable game.
I feel very good about that game.
Yeah, because they might have completely quit.
Shut it down.
Who do they play next week?
Don't know. Don't care.
But they might get blown out next week. If they
it's probably a cupcake. They always schedule.
Yeah, but they just played the
before
cupcake.
FSU.
But they just played a cupcake, so they can't have. I mean, unless they have two cupcakes in a row.
You looking it up?
Yeah, I'm looking it up real quick. Let's see next week. They play Missouri. So, what could be interesting if we beat BC. And Missouri beats Florida next week. It's at Missouri. Both of us could be 5-6. The winner goes to a bowl. That could get pretty interesting. I like it.
I think that's a game day environment. College game day right there, huh?
So
well, as we do every week, what are your three takeaways from tonight's win against Miami? 31-28 in the 4-game streak.
Mike's got us. I try not to curse. Screw Miami. That's takeaway right there. But no, for real. It's good to see Travis being able to step up in big time moments and deliver plays and efficient passes, and all of during the fall camp, what everybody kept saying is he's growing as a passer. He's getting better as a passer. He's getting better as a passer. And at the beginning of the season, people are like, y'all lying to us. But now we start seeing it, and we see like today and stuff like that. It's true. He has grown a lot as a passer. Will he ever be a Van Dyke or, anything like that? Obviously not, and he still doesn't see blitzes well sometimes, and he still makes some poor decisions, but he is growing, and he's a pretty clutch player. That 3rd and 14 throw to Parchment, not a lot of people that are better quarterbacks are making that throw. That's a big time throw.
Well, I've been super tough on him, man. The kid's got guts.
He does.
He's got guts.
And he's always smiling. He's just like, he's just cool. He's cool and calm, and it's like he just goes.
Kean Thomas just said, again, the guy who's played well the last 3 to 4 weeks. I feel great, man. It was a very emotional. It was very emotional for me. I'm just proud of this team. This is a building block game for FSU.
Yep.
It
is.
Get to 6-6, make it to a bowl, and build on that.
Yep.
This is how you get there.
Get those extra practices.
Yeah.
You know, really the biggest takeaway is that we beat a rival for the first time since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had 2 rivalry games so far this year, and we were competitive in both, and we won one. That is huge, and that'll be huge on the trail. That's
Mm-hmm.
huge for confidence for this team, and huge for us going forward. And um, you know, as a program and building,
Mm-hmm.
it's a building block, and it's a huge win because of that. But we freaking beat a rival, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my takeaways are pretty similar. Florida State's got an opportunity to build on this and finish the year strong. After start 0-4, I don't think anyone really even considered FSU having an opportunity to make a bowl game. Beating Miami on national television when they haven't been able to have success against a rival, like you said, it's been since 2017 that FSU's beaten a rival. Huge. And let's not sit here and say that Miami is a great team. Nonetheless, you got to win these games in order to keep moving forward as a program. And for me, my other takeaway is that this team is just different with Travis at the quarterback position. He's going to be his inconsistent stuff at quarterback. He's going to leave some stuff on the field, but his athletic ability allows him to make plays that some guys can't. And the coaching staff has done a tremendous job scheming around him and fitting and tailoring the offense to what he can do. So,
yeah.
But I know you that you got to wrap it up. So, going to see a movie. What's it? Is this the title right here?
That's it. That's it.
After
that's
you.
It. Yeah, that's the title.
Heard. So, as always, this is the Post Game Chopper with Nate and Steve, hosted by the Voice of College Football. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday to the live calling show. Florida State, they come back after giving it that lead. They beat Miami 31-28. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we can talk about FSU being 5-6, getting ready to go into that Florida game in order to make a bowl. So, as always, go Noles.
Go Noles.